It is 2 o'clock in Atlanta and also 2 o'clock on the eastern suburbs of Chattanooga, 1 o'clock in Chattanooga right now. And we are looking ahead to more flooding concerns on the way in Chattanooga, northwest Georgia, even portions of the Atlanta metro under the risk of flooding later on. And I just want to kind of recap what we saw unfold yesterday evening. This is one of our live cameras positioned all across the southeast. This is at I-24, kind of I-75, I-24, that split right when you cross over in from Georgia into Tennessee and Eastridge. This is the location in Eastridge where we have one person missing after flooding yesterday in the Chattanooga area. There's 3 dead and 1 missing after horrific flooding yesterday. Those 3 fatalities occurred, unfortunately, one single family when a car was crushed under the weight of a tree that fell on it. We also know that 1 person is missing in Eastridge. That's where there were barricades set up by firefighters because of flooding ongoing, and 1 man ran around the barricades and disappeared into the floodwaters. So waiting to learn more, unfortunately, about that. And you see on your screen right now videos from last night. The top from Hamilton County, which has currently been placed under a local state of emergency by the mayor there. And that is a water rescue that's underway. Those are crews preparing to go through a water rescue and help people that were trapped in floodwaters. You can see them loading things up along that boat. They're standing there in the floodwaters, helping somebody out of their home, climbing into that flotation boat right there to get them out after the rising floodwaters. And you also see on the bottom of your screen drone video from the local affiliate up there, and that is overseeing a public storage facility. There's a little restaurant there, gas station, and you can see all of the floodwaters that have swollen up so high that cars were stranded in the flooding. And it appears that those cars were stranded in the flooding right over a bridge. So one of those creeks or streams went into flooding, flash flooding. And unfortunately, remember, we always tell you, do not drive on a flooded roadway. You don't know how deep the water is, what the road conditions are underneath it, and if the road might be compromised. On the top of your screen, you also see over on this direction, that is drone video from David Waltmeyer, who was located in Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. That is an apartment complex where 30 individuals had to be taken into emergency shelter locations. The American Red Cross was out there assisting these residents who had floodwaters go into their homes. So that was all part. You can see this incredible drone video from David he had posted on YouTube that you can see all these emergency responders right along the side of the road there in Fort Oglethorpe. All these different communities. This apartment complex was underwater as the floodwaters rose from the right side of the screen onto the floodplain and then out into the apartment complex. So many homes not just underwater. You can see some rescuers there in a boat, in that red boat right there. You can also see cars that were just left stranded with no time for those residents to move them to higher ground before the floodwaters moved in. And unfortunately for Chattanooga, we're not done with the flood threat yet. We're not done with the flood threat in far north Georgia as well. We did pick up some really high rainfall totals there as well. At the Chattanooga airport, the rainfall totaled 6.42 inches. It was the second highest one-day rain total on record for the Chattanooga airport. So again, there's a lot of things in motion for today. We had more rain early today, more rain likely on the way later. And this is a snapshot of the 24-hour rainfall totals from Chattanooga, North Georgia, Catoosa County right there, north of Ringgold. Fort Oglethorpe was where we saw the flooding at that apartment home. The east side of Chattanooga near Eastridge, that's where we saw more of the flooding. And then also some really high rainfall totals west along I-24 as you get away from Chattanooga. Remember, you got to drive back where it merges with I-59 into northwest Georgia. Then you climb back into Tennessee along I-24 and you get past Nickajack Dam and you keep driving north, and that area as well picked up some estimated rainfall amounts that were 5 to 7 inches of rain. So a lot of rain has fallen. We also saw a lot of rainfall in parts of northeast Georgia, throughout portions of Lumpkin County, White County near Helen as well, southern Rabun County. Some of those rainfall totals were over 3 inches, and we are under a risk of more flooding today. Flood watch in effect, and this includes now North Georgia, in addition to just Tennessee and northeastern Alabama. This is going to run through tonight, so until all the storms calm down overnight tonight, and it now includes Polk, Floyd, Bartow, Gordon, Chattanooga, Pickens and Dawson counties, Bartow, Cherokee, Forsyth, Hall, Lumpkin, White, Towns, Union, Fannin, Gilmer, and then that little corridor in northwest Georgia as well. I'll take you bigger picture on this flood watch graphic so you can see it's not just there under a risk of flooding, but all this tropical moisture has been feeding up across the Tennessee Valley, even up into southeastern Kentucky, which is another area that's always very vulnerable to flood because they've got the hills and the hollers. A lot of up and down topography, so the water rushes into those lower lying points on the roadway, on the hills and everything, into the creeks, into the streams, and that's why there is a risk of flooding there as well. So flood watches stretch from Nashville down through Huntsville, Chattanooga, Knoxville, up into kind of London, Somerset, almost in Kentucky, and then all the way into eastern Tennessee and Kingsport, Tennessee, and then also into a small little portion there in far western Virginia. So flood watch in effect. Let me show you the big picture setup. We have this tropical moisture which is streaming in off the Gulf, and it is almost like a water hose or a conveyor belt. I like to think of it in two different ways. Let me take the text off of this so you can see. Look at how there's this little spin, little counterclockwise spin here. This was actually an area the Hurricane Center was watching for development just 2 days ago. But it was never going to develop into a tropical storm or a hurricane. But what this is doing is this little low-level spin is helping to feed to the east of it even more of that really deep tropical moisture. So that's being fed into Georgia, into Chattanooga throughout the day today. So that's why the flooding threat is still with us. Now, how much additional rain are we talking about? Rainfall amounts are going to widely vary. Here in North Georgia, this really looks like a very busy watercolor painting, doesn't it? That's because we're going to see locally heavy rain, but not everybody's getting the same amount of rain. So some spots in North Georgia today may only get a half an inch or hardly anything, while other spots in North Georgia could very quickly pick up an inch, 2 inches, maybe even 3 inches. And I'll take this model out into the Chattanooga area, and it's the same situation where we could see locally additional rainfall that may be over 1 to 2 inches of rain. So we are highlighted in a risk of flooding by the Weather Prediction Center. That level 2 risk of flooding includes Chattanooga. It includes western North Carolina down through Greenville, Spartanburg, and North Georgia, all the way down to kind of the north side of the Atlanta metro and Athens. So level 2 flooding risk for today. I'll just show you the forecast track, what we're looking ahead towards. You can see this afternoon, we start to see more of these tropical downpours, these thunderstorms feeding in from the south, and then really a lot more of them on radar after 5 o'clock today. We're expecting more of those tropical downpours to really feed in across the region, producing more heavy rain that could lead to flash flooding all the way through about midnight tonight. So good reminder to never drive on a flooded roadway. It is not worth your safety risking it. Remember, turn around, don't drown. So although the risk of severe weather is not high, the risk of flooding is elevated today because our ground is saturated. It's like a soak sponge. It can't really take a lot more rain in. Let's talk about what's happening on radar right now. Streaming in from the south and west, already some of those tropical downpours, embedded thunderstorms. We're seeing some of that unfolding, especially in our southwestern suburbs of the Atlanta metro. You can see them streaming in from Columbus up towards LaGrange, in towards Heard County. I'll pause that radar. I'll zoom in a little bit more so we can pinpoint where some of that heavy rain is. This moved already through LaGrange. Now it's lifting north along Highway 27 up through Hillcrest, going to be moving in towards Heard County, east of Texas. Also, it's lifting north in towards Hogansville and that kind of western side of I-85. So that's one current area of heavy rain. A few other pockets of some downpours there throughout Carroll County, also Haralson County, not far from Bremen. And then in Atlanta, we're now seeing on the southeast side of town the rain picking up as well. This was not much more than a couple of sprinkles. Look at this, 1 o'clock today to now, boom, heavy rain breaking out. So the atmosphere is really humid and it's primed to produce heavy rainfall today, although not everybody will see the same amount of rain. So that heavy rain right now is over the southeast side of the metro. That includes southeast Atlanta, kind of south and east of where the zoo is. And then as you travel out from Fulton County into DeKalb County, coming across Panthersville Road, out towards Snapfinger Road, Panola Road, that heavy rain is going to be moving in your direction. It also stretches up into Stone Mountain, so it is just south of downtown Decatur, but we are watching that very closely for as it lifts to the north and east. So that's moving into Stone Mountain right now, moving in towards Belvedere Park. And there's some more little showers on the eastern side of town. Now let me take you up into far north Georgia. We've also got downpours which are still ongoing in that northwestern quadrant of the state where we just dealt with flooding yesterday. So we've got some heavy rainfall right now as you're driving along 75 on either side of 75, passing Calhoun, Dalton, carpet capital of the world there. We've got some heavy rain not far from Chatsworth and also in towards Walker County as well. So some heavy rain falling right now. We did have several areas under flash flood warnings earlier today up across the northwestern side of the Chattanooga area. Let me take this radar back a couple of hours so you can see the rain rates have really lightened up versus where they were at, say, 9, 10 o'clock this morning. It was just kind of agitating, almost insult to injury with the rain that had come in yesterday, creating the flash flooding. Here in Atlanta, we are seeing the clouds starting to turn a little bit darker than the last hour. In fact, our temperatures are now down a little bit from where they were. We're now down to 85. We had already hit previously, I believe, 87 or so this afternoon. Feels like 91. It's humid. Southwest winds are at 11 miles per hour, and that's feeding in all of that deeper tropical moisture. Where we have not seen as many clouds build in, it's warmer. It's 91 right now in Duluth. Athens, first day of campus school there for UGA, first day of school on campus rather, 88 degrees currently for you, and it's 87 in Peachtree City. So tracking the downpours, tracking those embedded thunderstorms this afternoon with otherwise high humidity and temperatures in the mid and upper 80s. But then we get into tomorrow, and after we get past today, there's a little bit of a pattern shift coming, and that pattern shift is a change in our wind direction. That's going to help to drop the humidity just a little bit and lower the coverage of showers and storms. So today is our main flooding risk yet to come. As we get into Thursday and the weekend, we're going to see the risk of heavy rain and flooding become lower, and also the coverage of the rain and how many of us will end up getting showers. That will also be lower as well. So forecast track a mostly dry start tomorrow morning. Watch the wind direction shift in the afternoon coming in from the north and west. Now that northwesterly wind direction helps to push in a little drier air. You may not notice a big difference outside when you step outside in terms of the humidity, but when we look at how much moisture is in the atmosphere to produce storms and produce heavy rain, that starts to drop a little bit more tomorrow. So a lot of the storms that pop up Thursday will likely be just south of Atlanta. For Friday, chance of an isolated shower or storm, but a lot of us will end up staying dry. And then we'll be talking about the temperatures climbing back up to the 90s each and every day through the weekend. We're also watching in the tropics, Erin, which, you know, at 2 o'clock, when we get this storm closer to bodies of land, we'll start getting updates at 2 o'clock as well. But for the meantime, we get updates right now at kind of 11 and 5 o'clock. Hurricane hunters will begin to fly this mission at midnight. Well, actually 8 p.m., so 0Z, 8 p.m. Thursday, 0Z Zulu time in terms of how we track it along the globe in military time. So 8 o'clock on Thursday, and then every 6 hours, they're going to launch missions, and they're also looking at possibly sending in a P3 or Miss Piggy plane. Those P3s are the ones that they have radar on board, so they can actually not just see satellite data, but let's actually look at the rain. Let's look at the intensity of the rain. Let's look at the intensity of the winds in a different spectrum. So they'll start to do that on Thursday at 8 o'clock in the evening. They'll begin those missions flying into Erin. Now, for the meantime, Erin has not been looking overall very impressive on satellite imagery. There's actually a little bit of dry air that's been kind of entrained in it or brought up into it on the eastern side. That's why you're really not seeing much convection there. You see a lot of the storm activity on the western side of the system. And what's also interesting about Erin is the sea surface temperatures, where it formed and where it's been the last last 2 days have not been very warm. But where is it going now? Well, it's going westward, so it's going to be moving into darker colors on this map, which means warmer ocean waters. So as it moves into warmer waters, it doesn't have a whole lot of wind shear it's battling. We do expect strengthening to unfold. So where's it going to head? It's heading in that kind of due west direction for now. Slight little curve towards the kind of west-northwest by the end of the week and the weekend, and then early next week, there's this curve to the north that's going to be happening. There is more variance in the models for next week of where it's going to go. This is not unusual to have this much variance that far out. It's really a matter of how far south is this thing and when is it going to get curved around this bigger area of high pressure, which is going to kick it to the north, so to speak. So right now it looks like that curve to the north would happen before it actually reaches the Bahamas or Turks and Caicos, but remember, these tropical systems, as they get stronger, they often see their wind field expanding. Right now, Aaron's wind field, tropical storm force winds extend 60 miles outside the center of it with a pressure of 1,004 millibars. It's moving west at 17 miles per hour. As we get into the weekend, we expect the size of Aaron to become a little bit larger, so the impact can be felt well outside of it. And that means that places in the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, the Northern Leeward Islands will start to feel the swells, larger swells coming on shore. That means rough surf. That means rip current risk that will be very high. So dangerous conditions in the water, even if they don't end up seeing the core of those stronger winds moving on shore. So we are watching Aaron, and also in the last half hour, we got our last tropical update in for the rest of the Atlantic Basin. We are no longer watching that area off of Nova Scotia and this area over the Yucatan Peninsula. The odds of development have gone down. So now they're saying that there is a 10% chance of development over the next 7 days for that to become a tropical depression or a named storm. So likely we'll not have Fernando on our hands quite from that storm, but more tropical waves coming off the coast of Africa will be the ones that we really have to watch closely. For today, the flood risk, we are watching that closely. We're going to be up in the mid and upper 80s this afternoon. Again, we don't have a lot on radar right now. We're just starting to see the rain increasing, but we remain under this flood watch until we get through early tonight. So flood watch continues through tonight as tropical moisture is streaming up into North Georgia. So the risk of flooding is there. Currently, the areas of heavy rainfall that we're watching are lifting throughout the southwestern suburbs of Atlanta. As we get into that evening commute, we're going to see a lot more of those pushing up into Atlanta, into the metro. So that will mean wet roads for your evening commute, implications for the commute, and also perhaps implications if you're trying to fly in or out of Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. We know summer storms and the airport don't mesh very well. So we're going to watch all that very closely for you. 87 today, tomorrow, and through the weekend, rain chances will get lower. We'll be focused on daily heat. Temperatures will be topping out around the low 90s Friday through early next week.